everybody. It is, I think it's August. It looks like it's August outside. But we are with Kelly on a nice early morning, because we usually do these after I get off work at least. So we're going to be talking about self-care. But first of all, we always start, how's weeks going and all that fun stuff. So Kelly, how's your week been thus far? I know you went camping.
Yes. So Friday night, we set up the tent in the backyard, and we invited one of my daughter's friends over. And so it was, we camped in the tents in the backyard. It was fun, but I didn't sleep much because I worry so much about the girls waking up and both of them have tendencies to sleepwalk and stuff.
Oh, that's always good.
Yeah. And, but it's really fun to listen to 9-year-old girls giggle about having to pee outside.
Was that here?
Yes, it was. It was here. It was in the backyard.
Yeah, well, that makes it easy. At least it's more convenient.
It is.
Yeah, it's always
that way.
good.
If somebody gets scared in the middle of the night, we can just go in the house.
Right. Yeah, it's always fun.
How about you?
What did I don't even remember? I know the fair's in town, but we're going to talk about that in another podcast.
That's right.
That'll be fun. I hate the fair, by the way. But I didn't really do a whole lot this week. I'm having a staycation, I guess. But other than that, it's been pretty docile, I would say. So,
well, speaking of staycations, we're talking about self-care today, right?
Are we? I think so. That's what I have on my phone right now.
So, self-care. Is it human necessity or is it woo-woo crap for rich people?
Obviously, I do it, so it's for rich people.
You do? Oh, right. Exactly. So we're going to talk about self-care today, which is actually one of my favorite topics, mainly because so few people seem to understand what it actually is and what it means. So TJ, what immediately comes to your mind when someone says that word, self-care?
Self-care. I'm thinking going to get your hair cut, getting your nails did. I don't get my nails did, but
do you do anything that you think would classify as self-care?
No. If I do that, it's very rarely. Is eating ice cream self-care?
Well, I suppose it could be.
Yeah. Then that would be the only thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you want ice cream and it kind of helps you, as long as you're not binging on ice cream.
No, it's the good stuff.
Then you need, if you binge, and see, this is my experience, if you binge, or if you have a tendency to overeat for emotional reasons and you're using food, then you probably aren't doing enough self-care things. But see, here's the thing. Here's the point I want to make here by asking you that question is, when people think of self-care, most people are like, oh, that sounds like bubble baths and facials and massages and an hour spent meditating, things that people don't have time or the money for. But I actually decided to break self-care down into 3 different levels. So like I said, a lot of people conjure these images of bubble baths and painting nails and massages. And while those things can represent ways to care for yourself, they aren't often feasible or affordable. And those things aren't what I call the base layer or level 1 or even level 2 self-care. In other words, bubble baths and massages are the icing on the cake once you've already met your more basic needs. So what is self-care? Basically, the level 1 stuff is going to be taking care of your most basic and critical needs first. The actual definition of self-care, according to Wikipedia, is the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness. So there are a lot of things that could qualify as self-care, and I do want to make a point here that not everything that we talk about here today, it doesn't encompass all the things that could be self-care, and this is pretty individual. So let's get down to the real nitty-gritty basics. The immediate health and happiness, or quote-unquote health and happiness, some people would call it survival, comes down to oxygen, shelter, water, and food, in that order. So you want to take oxygen?
Oxygen, sure. I breathe it, so that's always, I know it very well.
Right.
For about 20-some years.
Right.
we have a good relationship.
I have a good relationship since I'm 80, right?
Yeah, decades. So oxygen, dead within 4 minutes
Right. If you don't have oxygen.
without it. Is that like an average person? I'm assuming swimmers can probably go longer.
The guys who dive like in the ocean to spearfish, free divers, I think they call themselves,
Yep.
they can hold their breath. Some of them can hold it longer than 4 minutes, but they risk passing out underwater and dying from that. And people do die. But the average person, like if you try to hold your breath, you're going to start to struggle probably at about 2 minutes unless you are physically fit.
Right.
In which case you might be able to hold for 3, but 4 for the general person is going to be max. And please don't try this at home because we don't want anybody passing out.
I used to do it as a kid. Remember?
Really?
You used to like, how long can you hold your breath? And you go under, and your friend goes under, and you're just like, wait. It's like 30 seconds. You're like, yeah, I beat you, whatever. So, all right. So 4 minutes without oxygen. So, okay, so most people are thinking, breathing, you're alive. That's good, right? But most people are also shallow breathers. So let's take a few deep breaths right now.
Yes, reoxygenate your blood in your brain. So most people, they do. They just take their, if you notice you're breathing throughout the day, you'll notice that you aren't really taking full breaths.
Right. And I think a proponent of that is if you yawn a lot, that's also not taking enough oxygen in for your brain.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
So, one of the things you can do for self-care right in this moment that doesn't require a whole lot of mental energy or money is take a couple of deep breaths, reoxygenate yourself.
And they even have an app on your Apple Watch that tells you to breathe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of
It
cool.
doesn't tell you how. I think it does do like length and time. Like,
Really?
oh, breathe in for like 3 seconds and then, yeah, but they do reminders on there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, the next one is shelter. So depending on the environmental conditions, you can die within a matter of hours. Like if it's really cold outside, you can die within a matter of hours without shelter. So basically this one, doesn't need a lot of explanation. A massage and a manicure aren't the appropriate self-care actions if you're homeless and out in the cold. So you want to remedy that.
Yeah, especially when it's like in LA, it's like 115 degrees, I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, and you probably could survive longer than a few hours in that as long as you can find some shade, but you won't survive for long without shelter. So, shelter, this is basic self-care stuff. All right, what's the next one,
So
TJ?
water, dead in 4 days without water. Unless you're like that guy in 127 days where he cuts his arm off. You ever seen that movie?
Oh, yeah.
When he like drinking his urine and stuff.
Yeah, I love that movie. But yeah, he was still like
Oh yeah, severely dehydrated. He was like hallucinating.
It was hours though, wasn't it?
127 hours.
Right.
So
right.
how many days
it
is
wasn't
that?
days.
Oh, that is more days. Yeah.
Well, no, but I mean, it wasn't 127 days.
No, yeah, that's right.
But yeah, so
my
no,
math sucks, so.
he survived a long time without, just basically drinking his pee.
Yeah. Not
sucks.
that we want you to do that. But
Right,
sure.
don't do that.
So like oxygen, most people are merely surviving. So they must be meeting the bare minimum requirements for water to sustain life, right?
Yeah, right. Because most people aren't dying of dehydration.
Right, yeah. But most people are not drinking enough water either.
Right.
Considering that somewhere between 60 to 70% of our bodies are water, this is a good place to start, especially with self-care. It can make a dramatic difference in how you feel and actually how you look too, because I know that they've had studies or you've seen Facebook. It's like, oh yeah, I've drank like a half a gallon or a gallon of water every day for 30 days.
Right.
And their like skin clears up. They feel a lot better. They feel more energetic. So it's not necessarily you need a energy drink to feel that. Maybe it's just water that you need to uptake.
Absolutely. This is almost always the first thing I start people with in my coaching is we focus on water. If you're drinking a whole bunch of crap stuff, sugar-filled stuff, that's the first thing we focus on is getting more water because it can make such a huge difference.
Oh yeah, I bet. All right, so we got food here, Kelly.
Yes.
Since you love food more than I love food.
I do, and I love the topic of food, and I don't know if that's just because I've struggled so much with my relationship with food, but here's the deal with food. You can live a month or more without food. And like I said, food is a fun self-care topic for me, and it's what I spend the majority of my time talking about. And why is that? Because we are surrounded by it, yet we are both physically and emotionally undernourished by food in our modern world, pretty much in every way possible. We are a nation of overfed and undernourished people. But that undernourished part is more than just the physicality of food and eating. So when we talk about food as a basic self-care need, yes, the nutritive value of food is important. You should definitely like eat an orange every now and then to avoid getting scurvy, right? So we need a basic level of macro and micronutrients to survive and thrive. And many of us aren't getting the basic level of those needs met. So, I mean, simple self-care stuff there would be like doing what?
Eating an orange.
Right. Eating an orange.
I don't eat oranges.
Eating some, but see, like,
Yeah.
you have to be really, but like, and this is one of the, and I know I
Well,
love
there's vitamins. There's actually like vitamin C and like animal protein though.
there is.
From I think from like just like.
But it's probably not. This is one of the things about.
It's not like going out and butchering an animal. That's obviously going to have way higher levels of that, anyways.
It's, this is one of the things I find problematic about some diets, and I do like to pick on keto, and I know you do keto.
That's fine.
But you have to be really careful with keto because you can become deficient in certain nutrients.
Well, there was actually Marie from work. She said that if you do keto for a certain amount of time, you'll actually start getting like this brown stain on your skin.
Really?
I think it's from your thyroid messing up because it's right here. Yeah, it's right by your neck and on your chest. So I'm like, oh, that's got to be a thyroid issue. So it like actually like turns brown, and if you don't get taken care of, it'll like stain your skin.
Weird.
Yeah, I didn't look into it too much, but I don't do keto as it's like the medical. It's more modified than anything, but
okay.
Yeah, I'm not super crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, in general, most people probably aren't getting all of the vitamins, minerals, the amount of fiber that they really should be getting every day. So, a part of your basic self-care could certainly be adding in more vegetables and fruits and healthier foods.
Right.
But I'm noticing a more disturbing trend when it comes to food and self-care, and that is that people are so busy and disconnected with the sensations coming from their bodies that they often like don't eat at all, or they do things like they don't go to sleep when they should, or they don't even go to the bathroom when they have the urge because it's like they're so busy. So I don't know, TJ, when you're at work, do you actually stop to take a lunch, or do you multitask and eat while you work?
I work while I'm going through lunch.
So yeah, you're multitasking, right?
Hence, because I don't want to clock out for lunch, and I rather leave early.
Okay.
To take a lunch.
Have you met people though that have such like high stress jobs that they feel like they can't?
Well, yeah,
take
you feel
a break?
like you can't take a 15-minute break because you got so much stuff to do. Yeah.
Right. Or maybe they're in a culture at work where it's frowned upon to take a break, as if taking time to step away from your desk and eat a meal is like a luxury. And when I say it like that, doesn't it kind of sound ridiculous?
Yeah, especially when you got those smokers that are at work that take like 40, 10-minute breaks every day. Yeah.
Maybe I should start coaching people to take up smoking, because that seems to actually cause people to take a break when they need one. Please don't take up smoking.
No.
I don't really mean that. But
she's joking.
The fact that I should have to coach someone that eating or going to the bathroom, making time to take care of your most basic needs is your absolute right, and that you should be doing those things. It's crazy. It's crazy to me that I have to coach people, and I get all excited, and I'm like getting choked up here. It's crazy to me that I would have to coach people that they should be setting boundaries and making time for these things. So forget about bubble baths and facials if you can't even take care of the most basic needs of a human, and that would be feeding yourself or going to the bathroom.
Right. Unless you have a little kid and they're following you around all the time.
Well,
can't go to the bathroom in peace ever.
That's very true. You're going to go through stages in life like that. And with kids, I do work with a lot of moms. And when it comes to kids, sometimes I will tell a woman like who's interested in like losing weight but doesn't have the time for the exercise or the self-care, and she's stressed out.
Right.
I sometimes will tell somebody now may not be the time for you to worry about your weight.
Sure. Well, that makes
Because
sense.
you're just in a stage of your life and it won't last. Like when your kid, now that my kid is 9, if I want to work out, I can tell her to go away. So, I mean, it gets easier.
Yeah.
But when you're in that stage of life, but I do not call a job a stage of life. If you are working in a job where you feel that you can't take a break or take 10 or 15 minutes to actually sit down and eat your lunch without distractions, I find that to be a problem. And you need to bring that up with your boss at work, or you need to set those boundaries. So, and I want to also say that the majority of the people who seek my help feel like, and it's mostly women, but they feel like they have a struggle with food, like food is the enemy. So here's like the typical scenario for a new client. New client, usually a woman, she comes to me and says she can't seem to stop eating late at night, which is like a common problem, right? You think that's probably a pretty common problem?
Oh yeah, for a lot of people, yeah, because you're busy all day and you finally get to like take your shoes off at like 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then they're like, I can't control my eating. I feel out of control around food after 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. or 10 p.m. The timing's a little bit different for everyone. And 9 times out of 10, I find that she, 1, barely eats all day, and 2, eats while she's rushing around. So many women are also actively dieting, meaning that all of this is happening and they are operating in the mental and physical construct of a calorie deficit, which again is both mentally and physically taxing. So they're not nourishing the physical need for calories and nutrients, and they are taking zero pleasure in the food that they're actually eating. So most people don't realize that if you allow yourself to get over hungry, you get into this state called primal hunger. And that hunger comes from a more primitive part of your brain, and it's almost impossible not to overeat in that scenario. You almost cannot override that type of hunger.
Bad case of the munchies.
Right. So basically, if you're not taking care of your basic self needs for eating when you're hungry and actually enjoying the food you eat, you're going to start to turn on those primal hunger, those things, and you're going to flip that switch and you're going to end up overeating pretty much every time. So let's move on though, because I don't want this podcast going to be long enough already, but level 2 self-care. So this is the next level of self-care. Once your very basic needs are met, setting boundaries and taking pleasure in things, including food, also becomes self-care. So when was the last time you took a lunch away from your desk, ate without distractions, like really enjoyed the experience of eating? It's hard to be a happy human if you aren't meeting level 2 self-care needs. So the first one is setting boundaries. Make time to eat. Go to the bathroom before it's urgent. Take a few breaks during the day. Get up, get away from your desk, walk around a little bit, take a few deep breaths. Ask your spouse or your kids for help with the dishes or the laundry. People come over to my house, like if you walk into my kitchen right now, there's a pile of dishes, dirty dishes in the sink. If you walk upstairs and look on my daybed right now, there is a pile of unfolded clean laundry. And I tell people who come over, that is a testament to the fact that I put myself first a lot of the time. Because to me, like yesterday, I wanted to take a walk. So it was either the dishes or taking a walk. I chose taking a walk because I don't want to be an insane, crazy person.
How dare you leave that dish?
Who hates life.
Dirty.
And I will ask my husband and my daughter I'm not afraid to ask them to help out if I need to take care of myself. So leave the effing dishes in the sink and the laundry pile on the sofa, for goodness sake, if you need some time. Those things will be there later. All right, TJ, you do the next one.
So we got go outside. Do you know that most people actually spend less than an hour outside every day?
That's really sad.
That's actually true because I go from work to working out in the gym and then I go home.
Yep.
It's probably like in the car is my outside time.
Right.
So take a few breaks during the day, get up, get away from your desk at work, walk around, take a few deep breaths. Oh, I'm I'm reading the wrong one, but that's okay. But the same concept applies. So this means constant exposure to artificial light and indoors, stagnant air. So that nice AC. Do you ever see the episode of The Office where he goes outside and he wants to be like in the wilderness?
No, you know what? Maybe I have. It's been years since I've actually watched
like
those episodes.
He's out for like maybe 6 hours. He's like, you know what? I have the best air. AC. I don't need to look at the mountains. And he has a picture on his laptop and he's flipping through it. It's hilarious.
Right.
So we aren't meant to live this way. Obviously, those little breaks we just talked about, where you get to get away from your desk for a few minutes, those are even better if you can step outside and pull in a big breath of fresh air. Yeah, I would say so. In general, trying to spend more time outside is going to be a bit more beneficial to you.
And sometimes that can be difficult because we do live in Ohio, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, you only get like 2 months of good weather and everything else sucks.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but if we had California weather all the time, it'd be great.
Right. My brother lived in Southern California for a while, and he said it was wonderful.
Yeah, they don't get rain, they don't get snow.
Right.
But I don't know if but fall, I would have to have fall.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're only getting outside for like 10 minutes a day, does it really matter?
Yes, I want to see. I want to see different colors besides green and white. So, all right. So we got move your body, Kelly.
Yes, move. So, like, I'm not talking about going to CrossFit class. If you like CrossFit, that's fine. But we make this exercise thing so freaking complicated. Go for a walk. Walking is the most natural form of human movement. It's what our bodies are built for from a structural standpoint. Our ancestors probably walked between 5 and 15 miles every day. The average desk worker probably only walks maybe a mile. I mean, if you were to track, you're probably not walking very much during the day.
No, not at all.
One of the most basic forms, and again, we're talking level 2 self-care here, but we are built for near constant movement unless we're sleeping or eating. So it's really important that you make time to move your body, or at least get up during the day. If you sit a lot, get up once an hour. It can really make a huge difference.
I know more workplaces are going towards that now, because I know we have like 2 15-minute breaks. We have an hour lunch, so it's definitely being more.
If employers were smart, they would realize that encouraging, even forcing their employees to get away from their desks several times per day and get moving, it actually increases productivity, because when you get up and start to circulate blood through your body, your brain gets more blood. You suck in more oxygen because you're moving around. It can actually make you more alert. It can make your brain work better.
I must be a robot then, because I don't move. And some days I'm just like laser focused. I get so much done. But I must be a robot.
I get my best ideas when I'm walking. I actually have to carry a notepad with me, because if I'm sitting, I might have no ideas, and then I'll get up and go for a walk, and the ideas just start to flood into my mind. If I don't have some way to write them down, they come in and they go out, and I never think of them again.
All right, so we got sleep on here. So sleep could potentially be considered level 1 self-care practice, obviously, because it's a basic necessity. Mice who aren't allowed to sleep eventually just keel over and die.
Fun.
Isn't that nice to know?
Yeah.
Our brains need sleep. So my wife's husband, that'd be me. The guy the people they work for, the husband's like working double shift. Hey, Tim, if you're listening, you need to sleep. But we could and will do an entire podcast on sleep, but that will come later. But suffice to say, if you aren't getting enough sleep, hygiene is poor.
Sleep hygiene.
Your sleep hygiene is
I call
poor.
it sleep hygiene.
Yeah, I don't know why. She's weird.
I am weird.
You need to fix this to be a happy human being. Ask any new parent about sleep and they'll tell you about it.
Yes, tell us, TJ.
I know. I sleep great. I don't get up.
Okay. We need to have your wife on.
If it was Johanna, she'd be like, well, I'd be like, get up and then, 4, 6 o'clock, whatever. And I'd be like, hey, how did Levi sleep? I got up 4 times. You didn't hear me?
Oh
Like,
my
no,
God.
I remember like 1.
My husband could sleep if he could keep sleeping if a 747 crashed into our yard.
That's good.
So I can remember when Aaliyah was born, and she was up every hour and a half to 2 hours, and I struggled to sleep to begin with, and I can remember wanting to smother him with a pillow because he'd be snoring away, and I was up just all night with this kid, and oh my gosh, yeah, I'm not good on little
Well, I don't
sleep.
snore anymore, so that's a good thing, I guess.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. How about hygiene? And this is basic hygiene stuff, which maybe some people would consider level 1, but I consider this a level 2. So things like brushing your teeth and washing your face and brushing your hair, showering, cutting your toenails. This is pretty basic stuff, but it still counts as important self-care practices. And I even like to tell people that, women putting makeup on sometimes, just taking that 10 minutes. I mean, I'm not saying that you should put on makeup to look pretty, but I do find that in the morning, if I take that 10 minutes of time for myself and I'm putting on makeup, I do feel better about myself, and my day goes better.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a self-care thing for me.
Yeah, even if your husband complains you're taking too long, punch him in the face. So Johanna,
my husband never complains about that.
Really?
Yeah, never.
That's surprising.
Never.
I'll go in and I'll be like, "What are you doing?" Straightening my hair. You've been straightening your hair for the last half an hour.
He knows this right here doesn't just happen.
I don't roll out of bed looking this good. That's right. Right. All right. So connection with others or community. So humans are social creatures. If you're in the work environment, there's people talking to people about people all day long.
Right.
Family, friends, and a community connection used to be important for basic survival, but are now mostly important for happiness.
So like in ancient times or whatever, if you weren't part of a family unit, you probably were going to die.
Oh yeah, because you have to have or like a tribe or something. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that sense of community was a lot more prevalent then than it is now.
I mean, we
have online communities more than anything.
Right.
So spend more quality time with your family. Maybe walking outside, sitting down to a meal at a table.
And I put in there, hot 2 birds with 1 stone, because you see, we're incorporating all of these different self-care things into one thing. So you've got connection with community, or with your family or community. You can get outside, and you can kind of slow down and have a meal.
So let's do a picnic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, it's actually funny though. I can't remember the study or something involved that families now don't even sit down for dinner anymore.
A lot of them don't.
Yeah, it's more of like, get a pizza, eat in front of the TV.
Yep.
So
yep.
I know we don't do that.
We don't either. I'm a stickler for sitting down at the table, turning off the TV, putting away my phone for the dinner meal, especially because I feel like that time together that's the way I was raised, and I feel like it's sacred.
Yeah. So getting involved with your local church, a book club, a volunteer organization or something like that, is definitely going to, obviously, more communication with others in the community is going to be good. And then when we feel like we belong to a bigger picture, we're happier. So my wife, who deals with children all day, definitely wants to talk to me when she comes home. Well, yeah, she's like, I've been talking to these kids all day, and I have no conversations, but wah and bach or whatever. So
my clients who have kids, and they stay at home and the husbands work, when they come over for workouts, they will just talk and talk and talk. Yeah. And I let them, because I know that they need that. They need that adult release, right, to talk to somebody about stuff. So, all right, so I'll cover the next one because I know you probably just don't want to talk about this. No,
I wasn't going to. So,
all right, the next one, level 2, is sex. I honestly wasn't sure whether to put this into level 2 or level 3, even level 3 self-care. It probably depends on who you are, whether you're male or female, but since sex represents a pretty basic biological need for the purposes of reproduction, and also kind of fits in with connection, I went with sex as a level 2 thing. We can can live without it, but who wants to? All right, next.
Money and security. Enough said. So we had to put this one down here because, in modern times, money is a crucial factor in happiness, but not all the time. You don't need a lot of money to be happy, but you need some money to achieve, some basic necessities, including level 1 stuff of self-care. Obviously, a house.
Right.
Somewhere to live, clothes, and all that fun stuff. So
Food.
Right. Food. Oh, yeah, food is on here. That's good, right? So that includes being able to afford shelter and food, like we said. So when money isn't order, people aren't unhappy. When it's not in order and you have no money, you're usually not a happy person.
Right. I think what are the top 3 reasons for divorce? Usually disagreeing on things like kids and religion. And money is probably
money's a big one.
The top one, that couples argue about. And it can be such an important thing. Like I said, money isn't everything, but some level of money.
It's a big thing. It's a big thing.
Financial security,
yeah.
right?
I mean, imagine if you're both bums. Not as in actual bums, but don't have any motivation to actually work or do anything. That's always going to put stress on your relationship. So
right. So if if you're struggling, finding like a financial coach who can help you set up a budget and get your money in order, that is, to me, that's a level 2 self-care, because it's if your money's not in order, it's going to keep you from being happy. All right, so we're going to move into level 3 self-care, and this is the stuff that's really easy. I mean, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because we're just about out of time, but when everything else is in order, these are the woo-woo self-care practices that are like the icing on the cake. So those are things like meditation, Tai Chi and yoga, or taking exercise classes, reading a book, bubble baths, drinking a cup of tea, putting on makeup, getting a massage or a facial, going on a vacation or a staycation, sauna or cryotherapy, even things like going to the doctor, the dentist, or getting chiropractic adjustments. You could consider those level 2 self-care, but level 2 or level 3, those things can be important. Buying new clothes, eating cake or ice cream.
Like, that's the last one. Eating cake.
Right.
Eating cake.
Eating things that you like to eat, enjoying things that you like to eat, those type of things. So those are all like level 3 self-care things. I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that, TJ?
Working out, I think, is going to be a self-care.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a level 3 self-care.
Yeah, so I think that's always a good thing to have on there. But
it is. But if you don't, like if you are so busy that you can't make the time, or you can't afford equipment, or that's why I always tell people, like, just moving, like walking, doing something that's free, that kind of thing. If you're struggling with the money part
free
of it,
is always good. Yeah.
Right. So that's sort of what we wanted to talk about today with self-care. Make sure that if you like this episode, or even if you have more to add about self-care, you can always feel free to get in touch with us. Or if you have other questions that you would like answered about health, fitness, or motivation, let us know, because we're always looking for interesting ideas for podcast topics, right?
Oh, yes, we are. All right. Well, we'll see you until next time.
All right. Bye.
Hey everyone, this is TJ and
Kelly
with the Initiative Project Podcast. If you like what you heard, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions you'd like us to cover, please email us at initiativepodcast@gmail.com. See you next time.